In September, I support different charities, and this particular charity for this year is going to be the Light the Night fundraiser for Leukemia Lymphoma Society. This is just one charity that I've done some vetting on and that I feel is a really good cause. A lot of people that I know have been personally touched by this, so I just want to give back. Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to point out that I've organized all my videos into playlists on my channel. So if you're looking for more videos around a specific topic, especially topics like this with general shoe knowledge, you can find all of the videos in one place so that you're able to easily access everything that's out there. Thanks much. Hey, and welcome back. This is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and today we're going to talk about, you guessed it, another shoe battle with the TLB Mallorca. 121 on the Artista line, and we're going to be comparing this shoe today to Tricker's Belgrave. Tricker's is a very well-established, well-known shoe company out of the UK, and they put together this beautiful Adelaide. Now they are best known for their country shoes, and you can see this has a lot of really fine detail work. This is part of their, I think they call it the city shoe, or yeah, city shoe. So this is, things that are geared toward the businessman that is working in the city. So, but it is an Adelaide, same style as the TLB. So wanted to take a look and compare them. So as with always, I'm going to do some quantitative analysis with you. And so we'll take a look here. Stitch density for the uppers, for the sole. We'll look at the measurement of the waist. So you can see that this is a very, very different type of shoe, right? The last itself is pretty different. They both have a chisel on the last, but this, you can see just looking at this, the angles are very different. It appears as if it's a much wider shoe for the Trickers, but it's not. It's not really. It's the same size. The waists are certainly very, very different. We've talked about before how the TLB has this really, really broad-in narrow waist, and how nice that is it hugs your foot. But the Trickers is much thicker, and it's just a very stable shoe. Now you can see from the wear on this that this has not had any significant wear yet. I've really only worn it the one time when I did the maiden voyage video, but this is certainly, this is also my lightest shoe, and that's an important distinction as well, because getting a light color like this is not easy to do, and is not possible at TLB that I know of. So that is something that we also look. Now I did some burnishing on it and tried to create a little bit of depth of color, but for all intents and purposes, it's different. So let's take a look at what is really nice about this shoe. I really like the rise on the toe, and the way that chisel last is brought into that rise. And you'll see something very similar to that on the TLB. It's a little more difficult to see because the way the dark brown carries the light, but you will see, especially at different angles here, that it is very similar. Now, it's a little bit narrower, right? So if you just look at the toe itself, it's just slightly narrower, and then the TLB has a slimmer line here, okay, which is part of what accentuates the fact that it looks like a narrower shoe. So when you look at them side by side, it looks like it's much narrower, even though by measurements, it's not really that much narrower. So, but I do like the way that this feels. Now that the narrowness here at the top, that's also a nice thing. So this kind of brings it up more. And you can see that the TLB is just slightly less of an angle on that. If you look at the toe caps, the TLB has a much longer cap, which is kind of nice, but not something that I would consider to be something to take away from it. Now, what I think is also interesting is if you look at where the U throat starts, okay, the U throat starts a little bit higher up on the TLB, and the top line on them is the same. So that means the U throat is actually elongated on the triggers. Okay, so what does that mean? That means this starts further down your foot, and this distance here is longer. Okay, now that can change the way that the shoe looks dramatically on the foot, and so that's something that definitely worth taking a look at. Now you'll notice they have the this also has a round. You can see the brogue lines really well, and you can see the little box pattern that's in there based on the way that they've done those lines, and that is also very evident in the darker brown. Now, what's interesting though is because I darkened that just a little bit as I was doing the burnishing, it's less obvious. So I'm going to give points to triggers because I like the way that that pattern is consistently visible better. Okay. If we look at the heel itself, just a series of nails here and here. With the TLB, they have little squares, so 3 nails and 3 nails, 3 nails, 3 nails. Okay. So again, a very slight difference, but those are the type of things that we look at on this channel, is how does that make a difference? Now there's also a significant bevel on the TLB, almost what I would call a fiddleback waist. I think if it was painted, it would really show as a fiddleback waist. And this on the triggers is really quite flat. You know, there is a very, very slight bevel, but not anything to write home about, as it were. So then if you look at the overall finishing, they're both finished very similarly. There is a line from the Goodyear welting on the edge here, but it has been ironed relatively smooth. I would say that the big difference is the fudging, which is the line around the edge here. And this has pretty nice fudging. You can see that as the light changes a bit. Let's see there. All right, so you can see that pattern. And on the triggers, there is, you can see the stitches in the sole, but there's no pattern on the top of the welt. It's smooth. So that harkens back to the country essence of triggers. Triggers is just a very basic fundamental of a shoe. Now, actually, what's interesting is if I look at an inside angle on the triggers, okay, versus just on the actual edge of the welt, but I look on the inside of the welt, there is fudging, but it starts all the way down here. Okay, so you see it up down there, but then here it stops. So it just goes in this one area, and then again, that actually continues all the way toward back here. So that's an interesting distinction. So it starts here, goes around there, but it doesn't have any on the outside edge. Okay, so think about how they do this, right? They have this this wheel that they actually use to push the pattern into the leather. This is I don't know what kind of wheel it's called. I'm really not an expert at the making part of this, but almost always it creates an edge on the welt line that you can see just on the edge. And sometimes, like with some what I'm going to say lesser makers, they only have an edge on the edge of the welt line, and they don't have any like lines in the actual shoe. But the fudging here is very pronounced on both shoes. And here it does start. This is where it actually, because it carves into the waist so well, you don't see it beyond here. It just starts out there and then goes all the way around like it does on the other one, but it actually stops here, again, because of the waist. So it's really from here to here, where on the trickers, it is from here to down here, okay? So again, but the quality of the craftsmanship is very different because it looks like they made it so that it goes into the welt there, but yet doesn't actually create that line, that ridge effect or a pinking effect when you look at it from the side. So from the side, it looks completely flat. And from this side, you can kind of see that pattern, okay? So again, a very, very small level of detail, but I have to give it to Trickers on this because I think it requires, in order to be able to push it in, getting it all the way inside the welt, okay, and not have it on the edge of the welt, means that they had to intentionally push it in. So they might have actually done it before they sewed the welt on. I'm not sure, but I think it's kind of cool. So a difference, to be sure. Is it material? No. Is it a design difference? Yes. So anyway, so something I wanted to point out there. Now, what I think is interesting about this is the way that the this has this little flap here. And again, that is a small design issue, something very reminiscent of the country shoe that Trickers is known to be, where it does not have it here at all. Now, if I look at my other shoes, I only have one Capto Oxford that has this, and it is the Allen Edmonds Bond Street, and it's trying to look more of a European shoe. And so Trickers, being the prototypical English shoe, has that little loop there. Now, none of my other English shoes do, so I do think that that's not necessarily an English shoe tradition, but I am interested in the fact that they did it. I don't think it has any function other than as a design piece, but it is interesting nonetheless. If we look at the heel, definitely the heel comes in, is very nice on both. It is narrower on the TLB, but then I think that may have a lot to do with the trees as well. So let's talk about the trees, because I think sometimes we think too little about the trees that come with the shoes, and these trees are both made for the shoes. So I think that's another interesting piece. So now this is a beechwood tree. Okay, this is actually on the Picasso last. So this is actually lasted for the shoe. Okay, so that when they say this is a lasted tree, it is, but TLB makes 3 different ones. They make one on the Goya last, they make one on the Picasso last, and then they have another one that's for their main line, which is for everything else. So this is actually for the Picasso, and I am intrigued by this. It is a very nice thing, and I like the way that it comes out and actually hooks up here. And I have this on my Macarellios, some of my other high-end shoes, Scaforas have that, and it is a nice thing. It allows you to grip the shoes when you're carrying a pair very well. Also allows you to hang them if you're doing that for pictures. So it's a nice thing. Now Trickers does not use beechwood, but it uses lime wood. And what's interesting about it is that it stains them, and they have a shellac on the heel. So I would say that the heel is slightly less absorbent, but the front is not shellacked at all. And so this remains very absorbent in order to fulfill that function of the shoe tree, right? Shoe trees are there for really 2 reasons, right? They absorb the moisture out of the shoe in order to dry them out between wears. And then the other piece that they do is they create the shape in order to hold the shape of the shoe together. So this is also a lasted tree, although not specifically for the last that the shoe is made on. So it's not an exact fit, right? I can push on the sides and so forth. But it is a nice tree, and it is a good solid fit. So again, a little bit different for the Trickers Belgrave, but you know, high quality tree, high quality shoe. You know, judging from the fact that the waist is much narrower, but again, when you get to the sole stitching, to the stitch density. Not a significant enough difference where I would say it's less quality. And then when you get to price, and I'm including price, I'm instead of talking about price a lot during the videos, my introduction slide on Shoe Battles is now going to always have the page from the website, so you can just see what they are. And the price is a little bit more without VAT, 325 pounds. Okay. Ish. I may be off. You can go back and look at it versus the 351 pounds for the or 351 euros. Okay, that's a big difference. There's a pretty big difference between euros and pounds for the TLB. So anyway, this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy. Thanks for watching, and that is my shoe battle.